Welcome back to another session of our 6th grade painting project. As you can see, we are making really tremendous progress through this project. I will, of course, every day review what we've done. As you can recall, I'm sure, we started with a blank piece of painting product, a board, a canvas board or cardboard, and then we drew it all out like you see in front of you, and then we started applying our colors. So these were our primary colors, our secondary colors, the tertiary colors. Up in here was a tinting scale where we went lighter, 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 lightest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So red, lighter, 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 lightest. And then we did a shading scale where we added black a little bit at a time. And we went blue, darker blue, darker blue, very dark blue, extremely very dark blue. So we've been working our way through all the various methods and techniques we use to create paintings. And so we've gotten ourselves down, so as you recall, we're going to go corner, 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 top. Now we're going to go bottom, and then side to side, and middle. So at the bottom we have to do complementary colors. And we are going to do some opposite colors, and one of them, we will have to mix colors periodically, and opposite colors are called complementary colors. That's the relationship they have with each other. It means that they have opposite wavelengths of light, and so they would cancel each other out if you were to cross two films together that are complementary colors. They would always give you a what's called a neutral gray color, which is kind of a tannish purplish color. Now, so when we consult the color wheel, we can easily see that opposite colors are almost like the numbers on a clock. So if yellow is at the top of the clock at 12 o'clock, then its opposite color would be at the very bottom of the clock, and in this case that would be violet. So these are a couple of the easier colors to put together, and we're going to have to do two complementary sets of colors. So if we start with yellow, the pure color first, that's always pretty easy. So let's start with our yellow, and we're going to place that yellow. I'm going to erase this 7 out of here because it has been bugging me. Every time I got to put a light color down on one of these things, and it shows through. It's just driving me nuts. Okay, so we are going to do yellow there anyhow, but we are going to put yellow here, and then we will paint its opposite right next to it. Now that doesn't mean you always have to do it that way. This is a class project, and we're trying to set the class project up so all the requirements are easy to see. If you had to grade a class project, then you would be able to point out, you would say, oh, these are my primary colors, these are my secondary colors, these are my tertiary colors, oh, these two are where my complements go. So in the physical classroom, you would have to be able to explain these things. In the E class, you're simply basically following along with what I am doing. And you know, both of these techniques will have to just work. But in the physical classroom, I would check your work. I would be able to explain in great detail and with more time than what we have here in our E lessons, even though they are about the exact same amount of production time we get out of each period of the day. Each period is between 43 and I believe like 55 minutes long. Some periods in some years are longer than other periods. But so if we get about 38 to 40 minutes worth of legitimate work done every day, especially on an E lesson, then that's really pretty fantastic progress. Now it's nice to have this actual yellow near the yellow green so we can compare them to each other and notice that they literally are different. You know, when the yellow green is by itself, it tends to look very yellow. However, when the yellow green is put up next to pure yellow, then it's pretty obvious that they are different. Same with red and red orange. Red orange looks red until you put it up next to just pure red, and then you can tell there is a difference between those two types of red. Okay, so as you can see also, we've only used red, yellow, blue, black, and white paint, and we have gotten a huge variety of colors and effects from those three colors that we're mixing together carefully. Okay, so now I'm ready to move on to the complement of yellow, and yellow's complement is the opposite, and yellow is at the top of the color wheel, so its opposite would be at the bottom of the color wheel, and that opposite color would be violet. Similar to this one right here, the Great Jelly Purple color. Okay, so we're going to have to mix up some Great Jelly Purple, and that would require the mixing of red and blue. Now, they should be equally strong, but as you're probably already experiencing, there will be times when you have to just alter the color in order to get what you want. It's not a you can do it perfectly on the first try kind of operation very frequently. Sometimes it happens. But what we're going to do, we're going to paint this area all in violet. So let's take 2 scoops of the red, and then you got to make sure you clean your brush out so you get an even color mixture here. Now this blue seems to be a little bit weaker than like a French ultramarine blue. So this is more of a cobalt blue, I think. So we're going to take 2 really good scoops of that, and then we're going to stir all of this together, just like we have discussed previously. I'm going to have to hold my card down there. It's moving around on me. And we're trying to scrape it into a tight little pile like if it were made out of sand. And our paintbrush is just like a tiny little broom, and we're trying to scrape it all into one nice little pile. The target color is Grape Jelly Purple. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfect, but it does need to have that very purplish grape jelly effect. If you get a reddish brown, and the red is very, very strong, so it will tend to overpower. It will tend to overpower these sometimes. So I think, and I was correct, I was going to need more blue, so I'm going to take some more blue, and I'm going to scrape it all together, and now I'm starting to notice I'm getting that grape jelly purple effect color. And so different types, not all blue is exactly the same, just like not all purples and all reds and all greens are the same. So they're made out of different types of colorants or pigments, and those pigments will all react slightly differently in the concentrations and ratios that they are used in. Alright, that's a pretty good Grape Jelly Purple. I'm going to rinse out my brush because it's all gummed up and clogged with purple. I'm going to take that Grape Jelly Purple, I'm going to place it in this shadow right here. Now, purple and violet have been used for many, many, many years, hundreds of years, in painting to represent shadows and also to represent the dark nighttime sky. And if you really look at things carefully, especially like the dark nighttime sky, I think what you're going to realize is it's not really black. It does appear that way at first, but if you're near an ocean, that will affect, or a lake, that will affect how the color of the nighttime sky, just like the color of the daytime sky also changes depending on the sun and the atmospheric conditions. Then, you know, so does the nighttime sky. And so violet gives you that perception of nighttime because it's dark as a color, and or a shadow, but it also gives you that little visually interesting angle on your visual perception that, you know, there is actually colors in darkness. It's not just all darkness, right? It's not just all complete lack of color. So violet is an excellent choice for using, or even darker than that, blue violet like over here for the nighttime sky is really a good choice of colors. Okay, we're doing pretty good here, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, very nice. Now, of course, we've got to get that tiny detailed corner in there. I think my phone is ringing. Excuse me. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Had to take that phone call. But I've added that 1.5 minutes back to your class time. So, where were we? We were painting violet, and we were talking about how violet is used in the nighttime sky. And it is. It's a great substitute for for black, and it also makes colors pop out rather than absorbing them. Black will absorb the colors that are around it, and that really can kind of deaden their intensity. It's something we call local color. Okay, now, so we've got one set of complements. Now we're going to put another set of complements down here. And in this case, we're probably going to try something like something we don't have much of down here. And I'm going to call that orange and blue. So we don't have much blue here, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to keep it simple. And since we tend to make a lot more paint when we mix it up, we'll save that for this area right here. So orange is on I believe the left side of the color wheel, and blue is on the right side, and so they're kind of at an angle to each other. But if you were to count them off like you know, hours on a clock, you would notice that they are 6 apart. So we're going to just pick up our straight up blue here first, and we're going to put it down here in this little triangular shape at the bottom of the painting. Now I'm hoping you cleaned your brush out before you transferred to the next color, transitioned to the next color. If you didn't, you're probably finding out now that you probably should have. Alright, good, excellent. So progress is being made here, perhaps a lot faster on the E-lessons than it would be in the actual physical classroom. If we were in a physical classroom, it'd be necessary to stop and explain things in great detail and go around and check people's work. Here I can't really do that, so you know, it's more of an instructional video. So if you are not being able to keep up or you don't understand something, simply just pause the video or back it up and replay the part that you don't understand. And through repeating it a bunch of times, you probably will find that eventually you do get it. Okay, that blue looks pretty nice down there. It's a little bit shiny and not quite as opaque as I would like it to be. So I may have to come back and touch that up. This paint seems to have that type of a finish to it. It's depends on what kind of surface you put it on, I suppose. And I'm painting on a piece of canvas board. Alright, now to make our opposite of blue, we have to mix together orange paint. And so we're going to do that by mixing our red and our yellow together. If you recall, when we first did our secondary colors over here some time ago, that's the target color, pumpkin orange. It takes usually 3 dips of the yellow and just 1 of the red. I'm going to rinse out my brush so I don't pollute that color puddle for the next class. Okay, and I'm going to just take 1 bit of red, and now when I mix this all together, I should get pumpkin orange if I do it properly. We're kind of scrape it into a tight little pile in the middle there, just like it was sand, and this is a tiny little broom. Okay, yeah, this is looking pretty good. This might come out right on the very first try. Sometimes you get lucky on the first try. So we got to get all of that residue scraped into the middle, and all of the strands of different color, the red and the yellow, mixed together equally. That looks pretty like pumpkin orange. If I compare it, the brush, see this to the orange over here, it looks pretty good. So I'm going to say let's go ahead and take that orange and place it next to its opposite color, which we just painted in down here, which was the blue. And yeah, that's going to look fantastic. That is a nice orange. Now this paint, because when it's wet still, it is really reflective. So the water and the liquid in it is reflecting from the light in the on the drawing table here. However, when it dries out, it gets much more of this type of a finish. It's not got that shiny, glossy effect. So that's only temporary until the paint dries. It's looking pretty good though. Okay, and so when we finish our complements, then we're going to move on to our analogous color families. And we'll put those on the right side of our painting. And an analogous color family has 3 colors in it. And if we're talking about the color wheel and all of our, you know, all of the solutions to your color issues in painting, are on the color wheel if you know what you're looking at. So the color wheel, the 12 color wheel, works because if there's 3 colors that touch each other or are side by side on the color wheel, like blue, blue-violet, and blue-green, those 3 colors all share a common color, and that makes them appear to be like they are matching colors. That's what that's all about. So analogous colors are important if you're involved in like fashion design and you want your clothing that if your art is designing fashion, then you want that clothing to match. You don't want it to look like, a clown's outfit. If you're involved in the practice of interior design, that's an artist who designs rooms so that they all look really nice. All the parts of the room go together nicely, including the colors of the furniture and the draperies and the floor coverings, and all of that, wallpaper too. All of that is very important, and they use that kind of idea of analogous colors in order to achieve that unity, where it makes it look like it was meant to be the way it is, rather than just you found a blue couch and an orange carpet and some green curtains, and you put those all together. That looks like a place that a frat house where everybody just brings something to the frat house and that's what they decorate it with. So an interior decorator would be appalled by that. Okay, so we're getting pretty good control here with the brush. There we go, that's what it is right there. Okay, now let's finish this up right down here, and we can move on to the next thing, which, as I was explaining, are analogous colors. It means they're like something. They're different colors, but they all have something in common. An analogy is when 2 things that are different have something in common. So you'd say, for instance, the sand on the beach is to the clouds and people would say sky. Like, okay, yeah, that's the relationship, the part to the whole kind of thing. Okay, that looks pretty good, and you can tell the difference between the red orange and the regular orange now as well. So I stand by my theory. Okay, so we've done our opposites, complements. And now we're going to move on to the next thing on the right side of our painting. So let's move the paint off of here so we can see what we are doing and have done. And we need to rinse out and clean our brush. And thoroughly, by the way. Okay, now let's see what we've got over here. Now we've got a place for, let's see, if we go analogous 1, 2, and 3, that would be a family. And then, how many spaces have we got left here? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and this would be 14. So, if we go 3 and 3, that would be 6, that would leave us with 8, and we would do a triad, and that would take 3. So we may be able to make this all work out. But let's just get started on it. So let's consider the color family of, for instance, let's go say with yellow. And yellow will have 3 colors in its analogous color family. So if this were yellow, the color that would be to its left would be yellow-orange, and then the color that would be to its right on the color wheel would be yellow-green. Okay, so it would be yellow, yellow-orange, and then yellow-green. And that would be one analogous color family. Now, strangely, yellow is one of those colors that, even though all these colors are supposed to match each other, it also you see these colors change dramatically. So it's of the analogous color families, probably yellow is the most visually interesting, simply because it goes from just yellow to orange and then green as well. So we are going to use the yellow color family because it's got that interesting color change to it. So let's go ahead first of all and take our yellow and we're going to paint in our base color, okay, of our color family right here. And it's okay. I got some little specks of something on my paper there, but this yellow doesn't have much concealing power, so because I'm making a video, I'm okay with the numbers showing through a bit. But if I were making this as a piece of fine artwork on my own, or if I were a student, I would erase those numbers out if you actually put numbers in your painting. Now this is funny because it's kind of coming across almost as a green now. Isn't that funny how the colors are many times affected by your perception, and also the colors that are near them as well. And we just got done using that orange. I can see some orange residue showing up in my paintbrush because I didn't rinse out enough. I'm going to have to clean that brush thoroughly and get all the gunk out of it if I can. Okay, back to the yellow again. That's better. Okay, that looks fantastic. I want to see if I can get that little speck out of there. It's just going to have to stay. It's messing with me, so I'll just have to leave it. Okay, so we're making good progress here, ladies and gentlemen. This may be one of the faster productions of this by the time we get it done. And we're on session, I believe this is number 5, and we may not take 10 entire sessions for this, but it would probably take 10 entire sessions in the physical classroom. Because group lessons can sometimes go kind of slow, but not because people are, not good students, mainly just because it's a group dynamic, it's what it is. And people get together and not everybody is paying attention at the same level. So if you're just one person watching this video, everybody is paying attention at the same level. And everybody would just be just you, basically. Okay. Now, so we've got our base color there, or what would be, I guess we could call it the parent of our color family, okay? And it's the yellow family. So now we're going to try to make some yellow-orange next. And yellow-orange, we've already got some orange that we made on our mix card. So if it hasn't dried up, we can use that. So why don't we take what's left of that orange and put about 2 big old scoops of yellow into it and stir that up, and we should get something really, really pale orange. And if we don't get really, really pale orange, we're going to put some more yellow in it, because that's what we're going to have to do. So yellow-orange, a tertiary color there. Okay, that's looking pretty yellowy-orange. I'd say I may have to get some more yellow for this, just to make sure. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. This is fantastic. Alright, okay, so we're going to take our yellow-orange, it looks like kind of like nacho cheese, and we're going to paint that above it. So we'll take that right there. Be careful that you don't, lay your hand in your wet paint. You can turn your painting around if you so desire. I really can't do that because I'm trying to make this instructional video. So I'll just have to cope. And it's funny because now we got blue and a type of orange next to each other again. So we've also got that complementary thing working again right here. Fantastic. And production has really been good on this project so far, and the paint we're using seems to be doing exactly the job that I wanted it to do, as red, yellow, and blue paint, and so that we can mix up all of our various colors that we'll need with only a limited amount of paint. And I think that that's what a lot of people don't understand. If they had a better grasp of their color theory, they would be able to not have to have 100 bottles of paint in their painting room. They would just have like 5 colors of paint, and they would mix their own colors. And back in the Renaissance, in the Middle Ages, that's how it had to be done. The idea of packaged painting really didn't exist. You could go and buy the pigments, but almost every artist had their own kind of method for grinding the dry pigments and mixing them together with whatever the medium was. That's the liquidy part, you know. And whatever their binder is, that's the glue-like portion that causes it all to stick to the painting. And it was very closely guarded trade secrets back in the day, and then eventually, you know, casual artists started getting involved, and that's where you saw the creation of commercial paint artist paint stores and packaging of commercial artist materials, or commercial packaging of artist materials. So the idea of, you know, painting houses and stuff has been there for a long time, but those are not necessarily the same types of paints. Okay, very good. We're making extraordinary progress here. Now this, because this orange uses yellow, right? It's that yellow is kind of a not a real, you know, real dark color. It doesn't have a lot of concealing power, so a lot of times we have to go back whenever we use yellow and touch up the surface that we were just painting on, so it has more uneven color to it, instead of, you know, a bunch of different squirreled together colors and scrape marks and such. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now we're on to the third portion of our analogous color family, which would be down here. And that would be on the other side of the color wheel of yellow, would be yellow-green. So if we were moving clockwise on the color wheel, we would come to yellow-green next. And so we don't have any of that already mixed up, so we'll have to make our own yellow-green right now. And then we will be putting that in this space right here. Now, yellow-green isn't one particular color, it's a type of color. So this is yellow-green, but it doesn't have to look precisely like that. It can be slightly greener if we so desire. So we're going to start out with, let's go with 3 scoops of the yellow. There we go. And then you better clean out your brush and dry it. If you don't dry the brush, bad things happen. And so I've been having some liquidy paint. Maybe it's because I'm not drying my brush thoroughly enough. Okay, so 3 scoops of the yellow, and let's start out with just, you know, about this much of the blue. And let's just see what we get. And we should get a very pale green color. That's exactly what it's starting to develop as right now, kind of Shrek green, splattered bug green. But very, very yellowish in color. So in this case, our yellow-green is going to be slightly greener than the yellow-green that we did over here in the tertiary colors, and that's okay, because yellow-green is simply green with much more yellow content in it than blue. That's all that means. So we're going to pick up some of our yellow-green and carefully try to put it into this tricky area over here. Some of it's going to be easy to paint, but you're painting around zigzags and such. Those are really pretty tricky. So you just got to be patient. If you can teach yourself to be patient, there is no end to the types of things that you can probably achieve in the world, because a great deal of anything that's worth doing in life requires patience and perseverance. Let's say you wanted to be an astronaut. Well, nobody's just going to show up at your door someday and ask you if you want to be an astronaut. You have to, you know, apply yourself through all types of educational and requirements, and you have to persevere. If you really want to be an astronaut, then you will continue to work so hard that eventually someday you will achieve that because of patience and perseverance, not because of just dumb luck. So nobody really ever I don't think anybody ever really plans to fail. People just fail to plan. And not having a plan is a plan for failure. So we plan a lot of stuff in art. We're very patient. We're developing long attention span skills. That's what all of this is about. I think I may have just got some paint on another painting there, but I'm going to have to live with that. Because I'm not just teaching the 6th grade painting. I've also got a 7th grade painting underneath this painting that I just worked on probably an hour ago. Okay, we're making good progress there though. So let's, here's where I'm at over here, in this area. Okay, now this is starting to get kind of tricky. These little fine areas where it's just really tightly tucked together there. Okay. Okay, very good. Making progress here. Try to stay positive, folks. When you're making a painting, you just gotta have faith. You gotta just keep working on it. You gotta be positive. You gotta feel like you can succeed, and at least it improves the probability that you'll succeed. I can't guarantee anything. Okay, there is our one analogous color family. So we've made so far today, and this has been rapid production, but we did a complementary here, 1 and 2, complementary 3 and 4, and then 5, 6, and 7 colors already in this session, and we've still got some time to go that we can continue to work. So we will now, after having done an analogous color family, we're going to go to the other side of the color wheel, and we're going to do a triad. Now a triad is any 3 colors that when you arrange them form a triangle on the color wheel. So long as they're not side by side, the triad would be a color scheme that you might use, and you would use of course black and white with that color scheme in order to get a whole range of colors. We are making this painting right now using the primary triad. So we're simply going to try to identify 3 colors on the color wheel that would form a triad, and then we're going to paint those in next to each other so that they make logical sense to ourselves, first of all, so we can explain the painting, and secondly, if people look at it, if they know what a triad is, they'll recognize it immediately. And so we could use red, yellow, and blue, but we've already put that in here. We could use green, orange, and violet, but we've already put that in here. So we can come up with maybe a different type of a triad that uses let's say red, violet, because we only use that once, and then we would maybe go to blue, violet, red, violet's for sure, and then we could go to something like, we really don't have much. We do have some red. We'll go with. Well, let's start with the red violet. We haven't made up much of that. So it looks like we're going to have to mix up some more paint here. So red violet, which is this color down here, is basically just 3 dips of red and 1 dip of the blue. So it's got to have more red in it than blue. It should be a brownish red. So I'm going to take 3 dips of my red, and you're not seeing this done on camera because I don't want to cover up the painting here. And then I'm going to take 1 good scoop of blue, and when I stir all that together, it should come out looking like this color down here in the lower right hand corner, which would be kind of a cranberry or a mulberry or a red violet color, reddish brown. Mahogany is also a version of reddish brown, which is one of the colors we're looking for here. So we're going to try to make an unusual triad with red, violet, and then we're going to figure out what our other 2 colors are. They can't be next to each other. They simply just need to form a triangle. And so I'm taking my red, violet, and I'm going to place it in this spot right here because that really gets my attention right now. Okay, so a triad. So see, you would pick out these 3 colors, and then you have to stay with these 3 colors except for the addition of black and white. And you can also mix these colors together as well, but you would pick out the 3 colors and you would use them with each other and add black and white as well. And that would give you a sense of unity in your color scheme when you make your painting. So a lot of people don't really realize there's so much, knowledge and understanding that goes into painting. It seems like it's the easiest thing to do in the world until you know how it's done, and then it gets to be really difficult for some reason. But these paintings are accessible to people, and it doesn't have to necessarily really look like anything, and it gives you the information that you critically need in order to be able to make decent paintings, and it also gives you that education about color theory. And color theory is a critically important part of understanding the world around you, but also paintings that you may see in a museum. So you'll start seeing things like complementary colors in paintings and art history books, and whenever you look at a painting, start asking yourself about everything that we've just done in this project, and see if you can see in the painting that you may be looking at on your computer or in the art museum or simply in a book. If you go, hey, there's tinting, look at that, there's shading, look how this person used a complementary color in a shadow. And you'll see it in there, because these ideas have been used for hundreds and hundreds of years, and they are dialed in, they are refined, and that's why I wasn't expecting that right next to my head here. Well, we made good progress here today. I think we made 8. This will be the 8th compartment we filled in today, and so if we keep up like this, we'll be done here in just a few more sessions, and that's a successful project. So when we pick up again next time, we'll continue with our analogous color family over here, and then it's on to warms and cools, and then after that, I think we're going to be out of class time, ladies and gentlemen. So thanks for your attention, and I will see you in the next session. Have a good day.